Okay, so Carlin, P2 in the standings, 297 points, the most even of the drivers in the championship. Lawson finishes 1 point ahead with 149 points of F1 bounds. Logan Sargeant with 148 points. Pretty good. I mean, Drugovich flew away with the championship. These guys almost on the tail of Porsche in the end. They're almost this kind of team like, this is what's expected. This is the team I think both drivers actually fulfilled kind of where they needed to be. You may have different thoughts on this with the, as you called it before, the passport side of things. Josh, I'd be interested to hear what you think about a driver who's not won many championships heading to Formula One and a driver who had high hopes for Formula One, being a reserve driver from your nation. Carlin, F2 2022.
Well, being a Kiwi, you guessed it right. Logan was a better driver this year. No, well, I mean, I make no boasts that I want Liam in Formula One. Absolutely. Is he worthy of being in Formula One? Absolutely. But this year, you'd be hard pressed to argue Liam was a better driver than Logan. And I say that in that it was close. They were both bloody good. The thing that killed Liam's season for me was his damn qualifying sometimes. Like, you can't afford to be that far down the grid, knowing full well that the car can be further up because your teammate's doing it in his rookie season. So qualifying really, really hurt him this year. His race pace was pretty damn good a lot of the time. So that kind of saved his results as well. Some of the luck was crap, with regards to just general unluckiness, whatever you want to call it. That Logan had his problems as well, though, so kind of a little bit even in that regard. It is a little bit of what could have been with both of these drivers. They both did really, really well. Logan was standouts, one of the standouts this year. Qualifying pace was excellent. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes next year in Formula One. But I don't know. Bit of a topsy-turvy season for both of them, I guess. But they both proved their worth, which I think was good enough for them.
Good enough for Williams, it seems, with Logan Sargeant, and arguably good enough for Liam Lawson and Red Bull, with no seat really for him in the end. Tyler, Carlin, 2022.
I think Carlin have been slowly progressing in terms of the last couple of years since they won the title in 2018, the team's title, that is, with Lando Norris and Sergio Sette. They've been good, but they haven't quite been as good as they could have done. I think they've missed their potential. The likes last year, they had Del Rivala and Tictum, a pairing that on paper could produce a championship in terms of progressing together with points. I think this year, Lawson has had a similar season to Porsche, but slightly, I'd say, not as strong as Porsche's. And I think qualifying has even been a bigger curse for him. He came in again as a title contender. I think he needed to win this year, really, to sort of guarantee himself that F1 spot. Yes, he's got that reserve role, but he's playing, even though he is currently the top dog of those Red Bull guys at the moment, he's playing a very dangerous game because of the fact that he's not in Europe. And yes, I know obviously he's on the Honda side of things and that will help him, but there's going to be a lot of Red Bull drivers coming in now. You've got Iwasa coming into the game. Yeah. You've got Hajar, as you mentioned, who could be the new boy for them. There's so many drivers that could easily just knock Lawson off the perch and he'll slip down and become a completely different series related driver. And he's another person who, like Armstrong, like Vips, would have been in Formula One in another universe. So I think Sargeant has actually done everything to deserve because the way he had to go from an F3 title battle where he lost by 1 or 2 points, then had to race with Charoux for a year in F3, which, I mean, name a driver that has raced for them that has gone on to do really well the next year, other than sort of like Enzo Fittipaldi. It's not a long list. and then he comes straight into F2 as a rookie. Yes, with Carlin, yes, with Williams backing, but he's made all of his opportunities count. And as we talked about on the podcast the other week, the pressure that he was under in Abu Dhabi, even with it pretty much being guaranteed, he was stressing a lot. So I think in a way he sort of deserved to get his moment. And it'll be interesting to see whether he's better than Latifi and compared to someone like Albon. So that'd be interesting. I think.
Well, that's a very hard contest to be better than Latifi.
But in terms of rating, I'd say for Lawson, I'd say probably a B. I think he's pretty much exactly as I expected from him this year. He didn't go above, he didn't go below. Maybe a B plus at a push, but definitely not in the A category.
Josh, going to defend New Zealand?
Yeah, A plus. Nah, B plus I think is fair enough. The thing that let him down mainly was qualifying, in my opinion. But even with that, hard pressed again to put him as the driver of the year. But going to Super Formula next year, I think he will be in his element. So it'll be interesting to see. But then again, last time Red Bull sent a driver to Super Formula to drive a Team Mugen car, that worked out extremely well.
Let's go because we've got just time. We're so late. Scoring, Logan Sargeant, the only driver going to Formula One next year. Does he get an A? Have we got an A-rated driver going to Formula One, Tyler?
Yeah, I'd say an A. I think he's given Carlin their best performance in a while, and they actually pipped ART in the final round just to rub it in. So I think for that, I'd say, yeah, I'll give Sargeant an A. Definitely not an A plus. But yeah, his expectations were probably not the highest of all the rookies coming in this season, and he's outperformed the likes of Hauger and that. So yeah, certainly.
Top rookie of the year, Josh Revell. Is he an A? Is he an A minus?
I'd say A minus. There are times where he just struggled with the pressure, especially in that last round. If he struggles to cope with the pressure in that regard, Formula One will be a bit of a step up. So yeah, something to work on. But yeah, fantastic season all the same though.